Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is awesome, man. Today we're diving into week number 7, start sit lineup advice. We got to get those dubs like I keep on harping on because, the fantasy playoffs will be coming as fast as humanly possible. You guys will understand. And even if you are still in the gutter, man, losing your games, I got you covered. We can climb back. No question about it. We got 2 teams on the bye week, the Bears and the Cowboys. So, at least in that respect, we don't have to deal with a whole heck of a lot. There are a few players on those clubs that we do rely upon, but nothing too crazy. You guys know the deal. It is rapid fire. Every team, every player. Let's start with those Arizona Cardinals taking on the Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football. Doubleheader Monday Night Football. Kyler Murray and these Cards looked absolutely horrific last week. Marvin Harrison Jr., he went down with a concussion. He should be good to go this week. Likewise with a Michael Wilson. I haven't seen anything to suggest that he's going to miss this game. But I'm going to go and downgrade Kyler this week to a mid-level. The Chargers defense has been playing very well under Coach Harbaugh, much better than I had anticipated, and they do look good. They will stifle Kyler quite a bit, you want to believe, and you got to hope that Kyler and this offense do figure something out because they have not looked good, and it comes with the fact of why are they not running with a James Conner, downgrading him to a mid-level risk as well. Kyler Murray, I still want to believe we can play this week, but if you do got better options, I might exercise that option where a James Conner, you're almost feeling the bounce back is coming. Don't know what the heck is going down in Arizona. They're mix and matching all the running backs. So for James, I am leaning towards the start, but again, better options, you would exercise that option as well. Marvin Harrison Jr. on the low-level bounce back. If he's playing, you fire him up because they got to get this thing right some point, and I think around week 7 to week 10, we will start to see them open up the gates just a little bit more and start being more creative in their pass schemes. Greg Dortch on the low floor, and then a Trey McBride finally gets back to goods last week, over 13 points. Fire him up on the low-level risk. Atlanta Falcons taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Kirk Cousins, Kirk O'Chains. What was my eval last week? Okay, he had the great matchup versus the Carolina Panthers. Everyone thought he was going to toss another 500 yards. I told y'all, man, coming off a massive showing of 500 yards, they were going to curtail that pass game just a little bit. Basically what they did. So it wasn't the best showing versus a great matchup. This week, taking on the Seattle Seahawks, he's going to have to be a little bit more on point. So I do like the play of Kirk Cousins. Mid-level risk for me, but there is upside here for TD potential. Multiple TD potential for a Kirk Cousins. Bijan Robinson along with Tyler Algier, they both did very well last week. Bijan got 2. Tyler ran over 100 yards last week. So, this could be a situation where we do see the Atlanta Falcons understanding the fact that they can run the football now pretty decently, even though the struggles were early on. But I do like Bijan over an Algier. Obviously, Tyler's going to be part of game script. If the game does get out of hand, he will start to get volume as well. So he is more the running back 3 to flex appeal if you are needing a running back. But there is always a risk that you're going to get low-end floors on him as well. Bijan, obviously, fire him up. Drake London on the low-level risk, 4 boom games, 85 points. I do like what's going down. Drake is looking good when he's playing in the slot. I have a feeling they're going to do that again. They're going to mix and match him all over that line, play him in the slot. He does eat fierce in that slot, no question. Fire him up everywhere he got him. Darnell Mooney coming off a meek performance last week as well. Mid-level risk. Seattle Seahawks secondary is decent enough. Yes, okay, they didn't play great last week, but I do like the Seahawks defense overall as a team, but they require the win. Starting, 3-0, now they're 3-3. This is a big-time contest for these Hawks. Mooney, I'm going to look elsewhere this week, as I want to say he's got to get back on track with the target share. Ray McLeod, say hey, Ray. PPR floor is there. It's not enough for me to start. And Kyle Pitts on the mid-level risk. I think we can fire him up everywhere we got him as well. There is always good potential TD upside now in this offense. Baltimore Ravens taking on Tampa Bay Bucks on Monday Night Football. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, low risk. Fire him up, 6 boom games apiece. Absolutely killing it. Easiest evaluation in the offseason that I think I could have ever had was saying that Derrick Henry was going to absolutely eat. What did I say? 15 to 20 TDs this year is going to be the floor for Derrick Henry. He's already at 8. So this was the easiest eval, no question. Derrick Henry's just eating on the regular. For a team that runs like they do with Lamar Jackson's rushing upside, they run a minimum average over the last 4 years of like 550 rush attempts per season. So you knew this was going to happen. Fire both those gentlemen up. Justice Hill falling back down to earth on the high-level risk. Not touching it. Zay Flowers is starting to become that player we're all hoping for. Targets galore, receptions galore, and he's making plays in the open field like we know he can, coming from Boston College. I love me some Zay this week as well versus the Bucks. Low-level risk. Fire him up. Rashad Bateman He was one of my breakout or bust candidates this offseason, and now he's finally starting to figure it out again. And I do like the usage that they're sprinkling him in more in this offense. He's got almost 50 points in 6 games. That is not terrible whatsoever. Last few, he's seen much more target share come his way. Bateman is a deeper league flex play for me right now, and he is on the rise as we continue to move forward. Low floor on the mid-level risk for me, because if the game script does fall out, then he does lose traction. Nelson Aguilar not touching it. Mark Andrews is back to life on the mid-level risk. 2 games in a row where he's had his usage increase. And I mean, it's about bloody time. I swear to God. Like, how do you guys you do not utilize a guy like Mark Andrews, using him just to block? He is got to be a fixture in this offense. When it's Henry, it's Flowers, and it's Andrews, this offense is going to be very difficult to stop. And the way the defense is playing, giving him extra opportunities. Mark Andrews, mid-level risk. You probably got him off the waiver wire, and I'm totally okay starting it, where Isaiah Likely is falling down to a low floor for me as they look to be pivoting to a Mark Andrews. Buffalo Bills Mafia taking on the Tennessee Titans, and it was a good week, man. Victory Tuesday off the Monday Night Football win, and trading for Amari Cooper, baby. Okay, so everyone's going to say, you needed Stephon Diggs, you needed a wide receiver 1. Okay, they understand what they had. They tried. It's not like they wanted to get rid of a Stephon Diggs. Let's be real. It was just the chemistry in the locker room was not working out. They had to get him out based on how he was feeling and, maybe acting in the locker room. Now you bring a guy like Amari Cooper, very similar like skill sets. I'm not going to compare the two to Diggs, but he is a wide receiver 1 still in this league, even though he is aging. You can still put him in this offense and make it work. They gave him a crash course on the playbook, and he is likely suiting up this week, so I'm going to go start there with Amari Cooper on the mid-level risk. If you got him, fire him up, man, because they will try to utilize him somehow. He may be on a snap count, but I still like the play for an Amari Cooper as my wide receiver 3. Josh Allen, low-level risk. Doing very well still. I don't want to jinx the man. No interceptions in 6 games. I love what I'm seeing. And I mean, this offense is moving very well. Low-level risk. Obviously, you're firing up Josh everywhere you got him. James Cook on the mid-level injury risk. They say he's good. He was off the injury report. Told no worse for wear. Fire him up everywhere you got him, even though the Titans do play the run extremely well up the middle. There is gashable lanes outside. So James Cook, that's his forte. Getting some speed to the outside, getting some catches in the open field. James Cook, fire him up everywhere you got him. Ray Davis coming off a massive contest injury risk on the mid-level. He's dealing with a calf injury. Not surprising with how much volume he saw on Monday Night Football, so there is a risk there. I mean, with James back, his role would get curtailed back anyway, so I mean, I wouldn't feel safe to play a Davis with a James Cook back, regardless of the situation. The rest of these wide receivers, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins. High-level risk for Samuel and Hollins. I mean, he's a TD machine right now when we need him, Mac Hollins. But, I mean, Curtis Samuel's been an absolute disappointment. I was never a huge fan of this signing overall. But, I mean, they got to utilize him a little bit better. I think Joe Brady's really struggling to get him some balls. But I'm Keon Coleman on the low-floor, mid-level risk. I want to see how this offense is going to move. If Amari starts to get some more, better understanding of the playbook and his role on this team, it's just going to open up all these guys. With Khalil Shakir as well, I think that you're going to absolutely have the upside. So it would be Amari Cooper, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir for me, and then Dalton Kincaid on the low-level risk. I think you can fire up Dalton Kincaid in this contest as well, as his role should be opened up with an Amari Cooper. Carolina Panthers taking on the Washington Commanders, the Commies. Okay, Panthers 1-5. The Andy Dalton Red Rifle experiment is not turning out. Mid-level risks for me. Washington's defense is gashable at times. Andy should still be able to at least move the football, but I mean, the writing's on the wall at this point. They may start to rotate Bryce Young back in. I mean, at some point, I don't want that because at least the run game is working. Chuba on the low-level risk. Fire him up until, Jonathan Brooks does come back. He's out in this contest on the IR return. He was practicing this week. So once Brooks comes back, we could see a lot of volume going to him, which will cripple Chuba Hubbard's volume. So if you have him on the trade block, absolutely start looking for trade options, because it could muddy the waters here. Miles not touching it. Deontay Johnson on the questionable tag with an ankle injury. I got him on the low-level risk. He's absolutely killing it with an Andy Dalton, 67 points. This is why we want the Red Rifle in, along with Xavier Legette on the TD upside, mid-level risk. There is not enough targets going to this man just yet, but I still want to see. They're going to have to throw the football the way the Commies play. They're going to have to match, score for score. So at least if Andy Dalton cannot throw interceptions and get it to these two gentlemen, I think they will at least be able to give us some decent fantasy points. We're a Jonathan Mingo, Jatavian Sanders. I am not touching this week, but I do like Sanders moving up in this offense. It is very good news. Cincinnati Bengals taking on those Cleveland Brownies. Joey B. climbs back from those New York Giants game on Sunday Night Football. I don't know why and how it was so difficult for them to move the football. They just had their number, man. It wasn't as great as we hoped it was going to be. I thought it was going to be much more points on the board. It was 17-3, 77. It was not a great contest overall. Joey B, low-level risk versus these Brownies, who are in absolute disarray, and they basically are looking like they're going to tank for the offseason, and we'll see what they do. But Joey B, low-level risk, fire him up with 5 boom games. Zach Moss, Chase Brown, they're becoming very good to play together at this point. Chase, like I said, is killing at 65 points. He is an easy play for me, where Zach Moss, temper the expectations on matchup play, where they will eventually go back to this double backfield sets. I don't dislike the Moss play, got him on a mid-level risk, but I'm favoring Chase Brown over a Moss once again this week. Jamar Chase, low-level risk, fire him up. T. Higgins, fire him up everywhere you got him, low-level risk versus the Brownies. We got to see a little bit more from T. Love what I see the last 2 games. It's back to the old Bengals ways here with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I love it, no question. Andre Yosevich, low floor on the high-level risk. Like a Mike Gesicki. Like I mentioned, when T. Higgins was back, Gesicki's role was going to fall into the abyss, and that's exactly what it has done. Do not play those gentlemen. Cleveland Brownies taking on those Bengals, like I'm saying. Deshaun Watson, everybody's jumping ship. They don't want to play with this man, and he seemingly can't play football either. It just does not look good. I don't know at what point I get you paid him like like 200, $50 million guaranteed money. I mean, at some point, you got to say we made a mistake, Cleveland. You got to do it because it just does not look good on the field right now. Low floor on the high-level risk, and not looking at it in the direction. You had an Amari Cooper, and you traded him away. Now what do you got on this team? You got Nick Chubb still out with the knee injury. It was not shocking. There was no way he was going to suit up that quick on the 21-day window. They lost Jerome Ford to the hamstring injury, so you got Deontay Foreman, Pierre Strong Jr. to anchor your run attack. So mid-level on Foreman. He always, at least in a fill-in in a pinch, will get you that volume upside on the mid-level risk. Don't hate it. High-level risk for a Pierre Strong, where now we got a cast of characters in Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, and Jamari Thrash. Watch out for Thrash in this offense. I do like his game a lot, man. I think he's got a lot of good quality skills. But who's going to be the lead guy here, especially with the fact that Deshaun Watson can't support them all? Right now, it's a throwing at darts at a dartboard to figure it out. Jerry Jeudy would get the low floor on the mid-level risk for me, obviously being the defaulted number 1 now without an Amari Cooper. Where a Thrash, I want to see them integrate him into this offense, but his skill set is very similar to an Elijah Moore, so we'll see how that does go. We're at David Njoku on the mid-level risk. I think the target share will be abundant now that Amari is gone. He's the only one that I feel comfortable enough to play in this offense. Detroit Lions taking on those Minnesota Vikings. Jared Goff, baby, 3 boom games. I mean, okay, the biggest issue that I got with this Lions team right now, the loss of Aiden Hutchinson on that broken leg. How are they going to rebound? He was going for that defensive MVP of the year. I mean, this team basically on defense ran through him, gave them a lot of upside. His motor was always constant, the motivator. We'll see how they do versus these Minnesota Vikings. Jared Goff on the mid-level risk. Minnesota's coming off the bye week. They'll have extra week of prep, so there is some, caveat here. You got to say, Jared Goff, there might be some, mistakes had, especially with how good this defense has played in Minnesota. So, I mean, temper those expectations. But, I mean, if you've been streaming Goff, don't hate the stream, but I would look for other options this week. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Monty and Gibby. The Gibby and Monty show, low-level risk for me. Both have 5 boom games. Both are absolutely crushing it. You can trust them week in, week out. But this feels like a Monty game because they need to have a lot of, ground and pound, forceful runs, make the defense earn it type of situation. We saw some of those angry runs he did last week as well. And I think they're going to continue. Set the stage, set the tone, and it's going to be set with a Montgomery where then Gibby would come in as cleanup with the speed, change of pace. You can fire up those gentlemen everywhere you got them. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 boom games. Not as abundant as it was last year, but at least he's still on the stat sheet for us. I give him a low-level risk as well. They got to find somebody, and they got to go back to basics. Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta, got to be your 1-2 punch in this offense to break apart this Minnesota Vikings defense that has played extremely well. Fire up Amon-Ra everywhere you got him. Touchdown upside on the mid-level for a JMO. They're going to test him on the deep shots a few times like they did last week with those Cowboys. JMO's a good one. He's giving you a very safe floor every week. week, so flex appeal, wide receiver 3 for JMO, 110%. Tim Patrick on the high-level risk, 18 points. I want to see him continue to integrate into this offense. Love the addition of Tim Patrick. Gives them a tall, lanky wide receiver with red zone upside. And Sam Laporta called a boom game last week. He hit the touchdown. I'm going to put him back down to a mid-level risk this week. They got to find ways to utilize Sam at this point. It just has been very sparse so far this season. If you got him, I'm okay playing him, but I mean, you got to always temper the floor on Sam Laporta right now. Green Bay Packers taking on those Houston Texans. Feeling the love for love, man. They looked good last week, and I mean, what the hell was anybody thinking that the Cards were going to compete? Jordan Love, I mean, I called Romeo Doubs as a sleeper last week. If you guys listened, he repaid you big time. Low-level risk for Jordan Love. At least they're moving in the right direction. They got all their wide receivers back to basically playing health at this point, where you got Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, we got a Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks. I think we could say a Christian Watson over Wicks at this point, where the low floor TD floor would go to a Wicks. That's why I got Wicks listed here. But Christian Watson on the deep shot, he's going to get you 3 to 4 targets. Similarly to like a JMO, I want to say Christian Watson could fall into that mold. The man just got to stay on the field. So for me, it is Watson over Wicks, where Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs. I'm going to say, obviously, Reed, you're playing every week. Where Doubs this week versus Houston, I think he's got a safer floor than he has had in the past. Josh Jacobs, the issue here, TD upside. He gives us 4 boom games, but they're on the lower level side of things. Don't like it. We want to see that explosion game, and I'm telling y'all, once they figure out this run game in Green Bay, this offense is going to be very much high octane. I'm still going to give the low-level risk to a TD upside play for a Josh Jacobs. Don't hate it. And then low floor, mid-level, not touching a Tucker Kraft this week. Houston Texans taking on the Green Bay Packers. C.J. Stroud and company, 5-1, looking good, still rolling without a Nico Collins. Joe Mixon back in the mix last week, and he ripped off a massive showing. They got Dameon Pierce back as well. Fire up a C.J. Stroud versus the Packers, where this could be a good shootout. We could see for the first time Houston getting it super right. I mean, outside of playing somebody like New England and just having fun, Stroud should be a good one versus a Jordan Love. Joe Mixon, fire him up everywhere you got him, but the interesting aspect is a Dameon Pierce. He's got volume, low, medium risk floor now. They're going to mix and match these two. They traded a Cam Akers. They still got Ogbawale. So I'm telling y'all right now, going back to how they wanted this backfield to look, it is Mixon, it is Pierce, then it is Adari. So we'll see how it does go. I'm not playing a Pierce this week, but absolutely fire up a Joe Mixon. Stephon Diggs, without even question, fire him up on the low-level risk, where Tank Dell came back with a TD last week and continues with the good upside. Had his one boom game. No Nico. They got to go somewhere, and it is Tank being that secondary piece. Xavier Hutchinson on the high-level risk, and Dalton Schultz PPR floor is quite low. We're talking 3 to 5 points for a Dalton Schultz. Thought they would have used them last week a little bit more. They did not, so I'm downgrading a Dalton Schultz once again this week. Indianapolis Colts taking on those Miami Dolphins. Anthony Richardson, he's back. What does that mean? That means everybody gets a downgrade. You get a downgrade. You get a downgrade. Everybody gets one. And I mean, it's just unfortunate. Joe Flacco, at least he was able to support these wide receivers. Like I said, I'm going to preface this with, I do like an Anthony Richardson. I do believe in the talent, but he's so raw until we see his passing aptitude absolutely fly up the board. You got to downgrade everybody on this offense. A-Rich definitely gets the rushing upside on the mid-level risk, playing these Dolphins defense that is gashed on the ground. I think you could play Richardson this week. He should get you a decent floor, anywhere 15 to 20 points. Trey Sermon, still no Jonathan Taylor. Sermon and Goodson. Okay, Sermon got off the injury report, which is good news, so he's got the volume upside on the mid-level, but the sleeper appeal does go to a Goodson. He gives a little bit more oomph to that explosive playmaking ability. If it is me, I'm taking the volume upside with a Sermon. If you're really scrambling for running backs, I think the sleeper appeal definitely does reside with a Tyler Goodson. Michael Pittman, Josh Downs. Okay, TD dependent for a Michael Pittman, PPR floor on the mid-level risk for a Josh Downs. Downs is so good. You see what I'm talking about with this man. He can make plays all over the field. He was one of my dudes coming out of North Carolina. Love his game, but he needs a capable passer to get him the football. Where Michael Pittman, what's he going to see? 5-6 targets, and we'll see if they even make it to his vicinity. This is the problem. TD dependent, definitely saving his day is the only thing. Where a Josh Downs, you got to hope that Anthony Richardson can hit him in the open field, hit him downfield. We will see, but the boomer bust does come for an Alec Pierce because we know they're going to test it deep downfield, and A-Rich has been hitting that one downfield, so boomer bust potential back for an Alec Pierce. There is a lot more upside there, no question. We're an 80 Mitchell, high risk, and Mo Alley Cox, Mo problems. Back to high-level risk where Joe Flacco was at least utilizing him. High risk, man. We haven't seen Anthony Richardson basically touch the tight end at this point. Not touching it. Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the New England Patriots. Still in London 2 weeks in a row. They got their lights clean, clock cleaned last week by Caleb Williams. This week they take on Drake May. If Trevor Lawrence loses to 2 rookie quarterbacks in consecutive weeks, we got a problem in Jacksonville. It's going to be really nasty. Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence. Okay, I'm going to give you the ups this week. Low-level risk versus New England Patriots defense that has seen better days. Yes, they got Gonzo Gonzalez. He is a stellar product, but, I mean, everyone else on this defense, while they're okay, they won't be able to surpass anything of glory playing defense. So Trevor Lawrence, he should have a very sound day for us. I'm looking in anywhere from 20 points and above, as he should be able to find the end zone. Where Travis Etienne is on the injury risk, definitely look in other directions at this point. Hamstring, they haven't ruled him out just yet. It said game time decision. I would not trust it this week whatsoever, especially with how poor he has been playing. I would definitely roll with a Tank Bigsby on the volume upside. They're going to have to get back to the ground game. But the thing about a Tank Bigsby, you got to understand, he requires somebody like a Travis Etienne to keep going. He's a good 3-down back, but he requires that spell change of pace to at least get those lanes a little bit more cushy for him. So for me, volume upside is definitely here for Tank, but get ready for maybe some downgraded points for him this week. Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis on the mid-level risk. If I had my choice, I'm going a Christian Kirk, but Gabe Davis does know how to play these New England Patriots going back to his Buffalo Bills days. So I won't be surprised if Gabe finds his way into the end zone once again, where Christian Kirk, the PPR floor, could again be there once again. Brian Thomas Jr., this was one of my misses last week. I apologize to all y'all. Like I said, if I recommend it, I play it myself. I played Brian Thomas in 3 leagues, and he only got us, 6 points? That's not good, man. First, letdown basically of the entire season. 74 points, bounce back game. We should see it maybe. I'm very curious to see who Gonzalez does cover in this contest. If it is Brian Thomas, it might be a long day for him once again, but I'm still going to go with a low-level risk. Fire up Brian Thomas everywhere. You got him on the bounce back. Evan Ingram, on the other hand, fire him up on the low-level risk. PPR upside came back to a nice, 13-plus points, and he showed that he's still the favorite target of a Trevor Lawrence. He should be involved heavily in this contest. Play with confidence. Kansas City Chiefs taking on those San Francisco 49ers. Chiefs coming off the bye, perfect 5-0, where the San Francisco 49ers 3-3, not looking the best overall. Patrick Mahomes, boy, you're seeing a lot of people saying that he's basically a streaming quarterback based on the point totals that he's not giving us. I mean, it's very tough. For me, it's a mid-level risk versus the 49ers. He should get up to play this one. It's just like the Bills situation. They lost Rashee Rice, so there isn't really their true number 1 wide receiver on the team. So now you got to roll with this patch-made solution. Mahomes on the mid-level, anywhere from 15 to 21 is likely where you're going for Mahomes this week. So if you feel you can do better, I would maybe do it in that direction. Kareem Hunt is on the mid-level risk, 27 points. I told y'all, man, that the Carson Steele thing, that was never going to pan out, where I do believe the volume upside is definitely here with potential TD upside for a Kareem Hunt. Mid-level risk, I do like the play, even versus a 49ers defense that is stout. Where Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's been cleared from his illness. He took some time off from football, get his head right from a situation that happened to him in the offseason. I believe low floor, not touching it this week. We'll see how they do sprinkle in a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I do believe his role, if he is good mentally, his role should increase on the weekly. Xavier Worthy, TD upside on the low-level risk because we got Juju dealing with a hammy. If Juju's good to go, we can absolutely fire him up because he took over that, Rashee Rice role to perfection last 2 weeks ago before they went in the bye week. But they got to test a little bit Xavier Worthy. Get him some crossing routes. Get him some yak ability. Get the ball in this man's hands, a.k.a. Tyreek style, and see what he can do. I got TD upside for a Worthy where, mid-level risk only due to the injury for a Juju. I'm still playing him. Where a Mecole Hardman, high-level risk, not touching it, and Travis Kelce is back to being the focal point of this pass game. Low-level risk. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Los Angeles Chargers taking on those Arizona Cardinals. Like I said on Monday Night Football, Justin Herbert. He's doing enough to win football games. I mean, they're 3-2, but this team is basically run the football, play good defense, and Justin just, take it easy. Basically how we're seeing it right now. J.K. Dobbins on the low-level risk. I'm not touching Justin Herbert this week. Look for other quarterbacks, by the way. We're at J.K. Dobbins. Fire him up everywhere you got him versus Cards' leaky defense. On the low-level risk, he should have a monster showing once again. And then Kamani Vidal, this rookie, look good. He's like another Austin Eckler type. Get the ball in his hands. Good pass catcher, can absolutely find those holes to gallop through from the backfield. Love me some Vidal. Mid-level risk, I can absolutely recommend starting him in deeper flex leagues. Josh Palmer, not touching it. High-level risk. QJ, Quentin Johnson, he was dealing with an injury, left the contest last week on that ankle. Definitely something to watch, not touching it either. Where Lad McConkey does have some PPR upside, but it's just not enough for us to start at this point and feel warm and fuzzy with. So I'm going to fade all these pass catchers, even against a Arizona Cardinals defense that is not necessarily the best overall this season. Los Angeles Rams taking on those Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, and they're coming off the bye week at 1-4, getting a little bit healthier as the weeks do go by. Cooper Kupp, he is a game-time decision with that ankle. I'd lean on the fact that he's not going to play, but I got him listed here as a mid-level. If he does suit up, you absolutely fire him up because you know he's going to get at least some target share relevance to give you some points. Matthew Stafford on the low-level risk versus this Raiders defense and team that looks like to be tanking already as well. Fire up a Stafford. I think he's going to absolutely exploit this defense with high numbers. Kyron Williams, stud start of the week, baby. Don't even think about it. Don't even look twice. He's going to get you 2 TDs this week. There is no question. Bank it. I'm calling 2 tutties for my man Kyron. He's going to do very well. 5 boom games, almost 100 points, and still on the bye. Still what? Top 5 running back in fantasy. He's killing it. Kyron Williams going to carry us this week, no question. Blake Corum on the volume risk. If this game does get out of hand, that's the only time we're going to see a Blake Corum, I want to believe, outside of a few sprinkles of touches. Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington. I'm going to go mid-level for Robinson, boomer bust for a Tutu. Not really trusting it unless a Cooper Kupp does sit once again. Then again, I would rank it as a Demarcus Robinson, Whittington, and then a Tutu if we had to play it in that sense. And then Colby Parkinson, TD upside on the mid-level. Fire him up everywhere you got him. I got a feeling it's coming. Another TD for a Colby Parkinson. Las Vegas Raiders, like I said, taking on those Rams. Aiden O'Connell and this Raiders team. It's a crapshoot. I mean, traded away Devontae Adams. He finally got his wish. He's out of the Raiders team. Aiden O'Connell does not look great either. High-level risk, 22 points overall. It's much the same as it was with a Gardner Minshew. Now no Devontae. I mean, Jacoby Meyers, he's dealing with an ankle. He's on the doubtful as well. So your leading receivers here is Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, and then Tyreek McAllister. This is going to be ugly regardless of who you're playing. So for me, Aiden O'Connell, you're obviously not touching it, but you do got Alexander Madison on the volume upside. They will try to run the football. And obviously, like we've seen with no more Aaron Donald in retirement, the Rams are gashable on the ground through those holes. So Alexander Madison, don't dislike it as my running back 2-3 this week. He does have good volume upside. Where Zamir Zeus White, he's been faded completely. 15 points. It was not good. We had to see it to believe it. And this Raiders team just isn't right for him. He needs to go somewhere else, and he would rejuvenate his career. If I'm playing any of these wide receivers, it is going to be Trey Tucker with the PPR upside target floor. I think that's where I'm going. But Brock Bowers on the low-level risk, he should be your primary target. Number 1 force-fed wide receiver tight end option on this team this week. He should definitely carry us with targets and volume and points. Miami Dolphins taking on those Indianapolis Colts. Still no Tua, but at least they got themselves OBJ back in the mix, but Tyler Huntley's the problem. Skylar Thompson's the problem. Nobody can get these guys the football, so they're going to have to run. And that's the thing, man. Devin off the A-chain, he's coming off concussion protocols. Yeah, apparently he said, they haven't said that he cleared, but he said that he's good to go, hence why I don't have him on the injury report right here, right now. But I mean, earlier on Friday, they suggested that he was still in concussion protocol, which is very odd after 2 weeks. But I'm telling y'all right now, he said he's good to go. He said he's going to play. Fire up A-Chain everywhere you got him, because you know he's going to run good versus these Indianapolis Colts. Likewise with a Raheem Mostert, he's back. No injury designation. Went into the bye week coming off a boom game. I'm firing up both these gentlemen with some confidence, because they're going to have to run the football a lot to get the win and the dub here, absolutely. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, QB floor is determined on how Huntley can get them the football. Obviously, I'm going Tyreek over Waddle once again. The QB floor is a big problem because there's just not enough to go around. Go with the Cheetah over a Waddle time because, I mean, that's just basically how it's been so far this season. OBJ, high-level risk till we see what he does until Tua comes back. Then he might come back to some relevance where a Jonnu Smith does have a low floor on the high-level risk, but Huntley did find him with some regularity to over a boom game last before they went into the bye week, so I don't dislike a Jonnu Smith again this week. Sam Darnold and these Minnesota Vikings taking on the Detroit Lions. Low-level risk for a Sam Darnold. No Aiden Hutchinson. This defense may taper off a little bit. And I do think coming off the bye week, extra week of preparation, you're going to see how good these Minnesota Vikings potentially are. Could the Lions, coming off a huge beatdown of the Cowboys, be the best competition for them? Abso-freaking-lutely. This is a very difficult game to pick versus the spread because I believe it's only 1.5 points. But I like Sam this week on the bounce back. Did not look good before the bye. I think he does bounce back in a very big way. Where Aaron Jones, he said he's good. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. He said he's good to go. I'm taking the word of the player. Yes, indeed, mid-level risk. But to save him, I would not be surprised if they do sprinkle in some volume upside for Ty Chandler. So I do believe both are viable fantasy plays this week as well, especially if this game does go awry and sideways, I should say. I mean, we could see Aaron Jones, tweak something, get to the, sidelines, and then Ty Chandler does take a majority of the volume. So both of them for me, if Jones is playing, he says he's good, I'm listening, but Ty Chandler definitely warrants a start this week as well. JJ, obviously no-brainer, fire him up. And then my dude, Jordan Addison, Addy, my guy. Low-level risk, okay? He's only got one boom game. He's been dealing with injuries this season, but this is the contest that they require him in a very big way. They need somebody else to pull coverage from a JJ, and they need someone else to make plays. So JJ's going to pull the coverage. Jordan Addison, Addy's going to score touchdowns. That's how it has to go this week. Low-level risk. Fire up Addison everywhere you got him. New England Patriots taking on those Jaguars in London, like I'm saying. At least they're viable options now with Drake May. The Jacoby Brissett experiment is over, thank God. And I mean, okay, Drake May went for an MRI on his knee, which was no good, but now everything uplifts. I told y'all about Drake May. This kid's got some talent, man. It's going to take him some time. He had some bad passes, some bad interceptions. I get it. It's going to take time, but he is a baller, man. You talk about a quarterback, look at Bo Nix. Footwork problems, mechanical problems. Drake May does not have his problems. Best footwork coming out of this draft, in my opinion. When I scouted all his film, loved his footwork, and he's so good in the open field. He can absolutely make plays and make runs, and he will pass these footballs. There will be errant footballs thrown, no question. I got him on the mid-level. 23 points last week against a Jags defense that cannot stop a cold through the air. Absolutely, if you're looking for streaming quarterbacks and Drake is healthy, I'm okay firing him up on the risk-reward. Ramondre Stevenson dealing with injury this week. Said he's good to go. I'm not trusting it, even though it's the early one, so we can wait and see. If he does suit up and he is good to go, I can say yes. Versus the Jags, absolutely play him. But, I mean, it is a risky play due to that injury because you feel like they rushed it back just a little bit. I could believe one more week and then he would be, better to be back on the field. But, I mean, outside of that, if we do see early on before the kickoff in London, you could probably play him versus these Jacksonville Jaguars. Antonio Gibson, high-level risk, not touching it, where we got this plethora of wide receivers in a Keyshawn Butte, Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk. It is Pop Douglas first and foremost. Low-level risk, fire him up. And, I mean, we saw Drake May giving him the flowers saying, you couldn't cover this man in a phone booth, and it is absolutely truth, man. Hopefully you listen on the waiver wire, got yourself a little Pop Douglas. I'm okay playing him. If you're struggling at wide receiver, there is plenty of upside in a Pop Douglas to get very high-end points. Kendrick Bourne, he is going to get his football legs back. Only got you 3 points. I still want to wait a couple games before we unleash this man. But a Keyshawn Butte, he should absolutely continue down this path of building chemistry with a Drake May. There are options. And then Jalen Polk, low floor. You're not touching it. Not playing a Butte either. Where a Hunter Henry does have some TD upside. I'm definitely okay playing Hunter Henry this week with a Drake May. New York Giants taking on those Philadelphia Eagles. Big divisional contest. Eagles need this contest in a very big way. So do the Giants if they want to remain competitive in this division. Daniel Jones, Daniel Pennies, he gets his man back. Malik Neighbors is back from the concussion. we can stream a Daniel Jones when Malik is playing. 110%. There's some guys that uplift quarterbacks, and Malik Neighbors is that dude. He uplifts a Daniel Jones to another level that we can absolutely trust when he is on the field. Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy, a lot of questions are going to be coming about this one. Devin's back in the mix, in the fold. I'm going to give Devin the mid-level TD floor. There will be touches for him to have, no question about it, but Tyrone Tracy has showed in back-to-back contests he is a force to be reckoned with. He's got speed, he's got explosion, he's got strength and abilities to find those holes with good vision and patience. I'm a big fan of what Tracy's doing, so I think that when you have a future between Tracy, Neighbors, and Theo Johnson, you get this team a quarterback, and they might do some business in a couple years, no question. But for me, Tyrone Tracy over Devin Singletary without even blinking. Malik Neighbors, obviously fire him up everywhere you got him. Darius Slayton or Wandale, both on the mid-level risk. If I got to pick one, I'm going to continue to go with Slayton over a Wandale, but this might be the Wandale game because they do play him very well versus these Eagles. So I'm going to buck that. I'm going to say Wandale over Slayton this week, and then we'll reevaluate once again next week. Theo Johnson, still too much high-level risk, but it is coming. He is starting to get some touches. I do like that quite a bit. New York Jets taking on those Pittsburgh Steelers. Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers, he gets his wish again. Davante Adams, can you believe this, man? Putting the band back together. Davante Adams, Allen Lazard, and Garrett Wilson's like, hey, man, I'm still a baller over here. Throw me the football. We'll see how this does shake down. Usually when we see them trying to build, the dream teams, chemistry just doesn't work. It falls apart. People can't get on the same page. We'll see what happens. 2-4. This is massive desperation mode. Davante wanted out of Vegas. Now he's with the Jets, playing with his boy Aaron. You know they're going to force feed at Davante Adams on the regular. Target floor absolutely is the only issue. Other than that, fire up Davante everywhere you got him. We're Aaron Rodgers on the mid-level risk. If you did pick him up on a streaming option, I don't hate the start. Do like it versus Pittsburgh. Even though Pittsburgh does have a very good D and the O-line is no good, that's why I got him on the mid-level risk. Temper the expectations of the top-end floor, but there is appeal now with a Davante Adams. Breece Hall on the mid-level risk just because TJ Watt is going to be coming with the bum rush, and we could be absolutely disappointed once again, but Breece came back against those Bills last week and looked very good. We're Braylon Allen. We're not touching it until we see more volume. Garrett Wilson, low-level risk, just like a Davante. It's going to be week in, week out. Fire up these two gentlemen everywhere you got them because they will eat, and they will help each other get open with single coverages. It's going to be very good and very interesting to see how it works. Who does get downgraded? The leading wide receiver in fantasy points, Allen Lazard on these Jets. He gets a target floor on the mid-level. He'll still have his games from time to time because nobody's going to cover him. So if they are smart, I'm telling y'all, Allen Lazard's points still could be here. That's why I got him on the mid-level risk. This game, on the other hand, though, they're going to try to force the ball to a Davante just to make the trade look like it was good right out the gates. So I would fade Allen Lazard this week, but next week we'll have a different story. And Ty Conklin on the low floor, coming off his injury, they say he is good to go. Jalen Hurts, these Philadelphia Eagles taking on those New York Giants. Okay, low risk. They just find ways to almost lose games. They're just not the same team. It's weird. Go back to running the football with Saquon in bunches, man. I get it. You got A.J. Brown back. The passing game looked good. Fire up Jalen everywhere you got him. It's okay. Almost 100 points against a Giants defense that did stifle a Joey B. Does give you some pause, but the Eagles know how to play the Giants defense without question. Where Saquon on the revenge game, fire him up twice if you can because you know he's going to want it this game. You got to say at least minimum 20 points coming with at least an end zone run for him in this contest. Saquon's going to run wild versus former team in New York, no question. A.J. Brown, Smitty, low-level risk for me. Fire these gentlemen up. Obviously, I told you last week, same. It's going to be the MO again. They're just far too good every single week, Smitty and A.J. Brown. They'd missed A.J. Brown quite a bit. Grown-ass man was all over the field last week. And we got Dallas Goedert dealing with a hamstring. So, Grant Calcaterra is going to likely take the role. They're saying Goddard is more doubtful than he is questionable. So that's why I got Grant Calcaterra here. I'm not necessarily playing it, but they still utilize a tight end. So, if you want to go super high risk or if you're in super deep leagues, you can fire him up everywhere you got him in deep leagues only, not in 12-man leagues. Pittsburgh Steelers against those New York Jets on Sunday Night Football. You got to explain this to me like I'm a 2-year-old, okay? You got Justin Fields. Fine. He's not lighting the world afire, but he's winning games. They are 4-2. He's able to utilize his legs it just doesn't look great in the pass game. But they're winning football games. You decide to make a quarterback change to Russell Wilson. Okay, I understand Wilson is the veteran quarterback, but we haven't seen Russ play sound football in, 4 years? I mean, what are you scraping at here? Okay, if I'm wrong and Russ absolutely torches the Jets and throws 4 TDs, I'll come back next week and say I was absolutely wrong and I will eat my words. I just don't see it, man. I got him on the low floor, mid-level risk. Russ is cooked. I think it's a career. It's done. And this is exactly how you mess with a young man's confidence in a Justin Fields. Don't like the move, Tomlin. I respect you. I just don't like this move at all whatsoever. Russell Wilson, I'm looking in other directions as he's first time playing football in quite some time. Could have a lot of rust on his tires. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, I'm going to give them both the mid-level risk. Called a boom game for Najee last week. He absolutely hit the nail on the head. They're going to have to run the football. And, I mean, this Jets defense is definitely not what it used to be. So Najee, to me, is a great one to exploit. I like the start of Najee this week where Jalen Warren would be a good matchup upside. He shakes the rust off for another game. I'm okay with firing him up in the flex because they will have to run the football to protect a Russell Wilson. That's how I see this going. Quarterback floor to a George Pickens on the mid-level risk. Don't like it, man. I think a bust is coming outside of a touchdown save in his day. I do not like it, and I will not trust it with a Russell Wilson until he shows it to me. I'm benching a Pickens this week. Likewise with Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin. We haven't been playing him basically all year, but a Pat Freiermuth, I got him on the mid-level with some levels of caution because, I mean, Russell Wilson has never historically been favorable to the tight end, but, I mean, it is Pat Freiermuth. Maybe this absolutely uplifts him, which would be good for fantasy purposes. San Francisco 49ers taking on Mahomes and these Kansas City Chiefs. Injuries continue to derail this team. The good news is 21-day window opens for a CMC to practice once again. We are getting that much closer for CMC to get back. If you want to trade for CMC, now's the time because, I mean, teams with CMC are likely on the bottom and looking to save their seasons. You can get them on, decent returns on investment. But Brock Purdy taking on the Chiefs, I'm still going to give him a low-level risk. This man does enough every single week to get you a boom game. He's got 5. Yeah, most of them are on the lower end of it. You're talking, the 17 to 20 points is kind of where you're hovering around every single week. I'm okay with it. Purdy does more than enough. But the Jordan Mason effect is an issue. Dealing with that, it was like an AC joint strain. We'll see if he does suit up, man. Shanny definitely keeps the injuries close to his chest, so I'm going to call him on the mid-level risk. If he does play, you fire up Mason. If he does not, go to the wire and pick up a Garendo because he is a good quality backup. Why didn't he score that touchdown on Thursday night versus Seahawks, man? You had like a 90-yard Gallup score. Why did you not finish it? Rooks, man. They just don't understand. So only play in a Garendo if Mason is sitting. If Mason plays, you fire him up everywhere you got him. Brandon Ayuk on the low floor, mid-level risk. Going up against a McDuffie. I mean, his season has been absolute dreadful nightmare, and you're telling me that it's going to break out versus a McDuff? I don't think so, man. Keep him. I mean, if you play him, I get it because it's a places of where you drafted him, but I mean, definitely temper those expectations. I just don't see a game coming from low floor on the mid-level risk. Juwan Jennings dealing with an injury risk, mid-level risk, not playing him this week. Where Debo and George Kittle, low-level risk for me, fire both these gentlemen up. They should absolutely be the reason why the 49ers win if they do make a defeat the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Seattle Seahawks taking on the Atlanta Falcons. What were they, 3-0, now 3-3? It is not good news, man. They've been completely figured out at this point. They got to go back to basics, man. Too many penalties, too many drops, not enough rushing upside. Go back to what worked well. Utilize your wide receivers properly. Geno on the mid-level. I do like this Atlanta Falcons secondary with Bates and Simmons, so they will make life very difficult for a Geno at this point. So mid-level risk for me. Don't hate the play. I'm okay with the stream. If you're looking for quarterbacks, Geno should at least put up some decent points. Kenny Walker, the third low-level risk, fire him up against an Atlanta Falcons team that will, see a heavy dose of Kenny, and I think he will score a touchdown this week, continuing his boom games. He had 77 points. Kenny's a dog. He will eat. And then Zach Charbonnet, low floor on the mid-level risk. I'm trusting Kenny, obviously, over a Charbonnet. DK Metcalf, target floor on the low-level risk. The drops are killing us, man. If he catches these, his stat line is already over 100 points, man. I think he's got like 3 or 4 drop TDs. He's got dropping problems. He's got fumbling problems. Clean it up, DK. We need you on this field. I'm still going to give him the low-level risk on the target floor because he is the most targeted wide receiver on this team. Where Tyler Lockett gets off the injury report on the mid-level risk, and Jackson Smith, Najigba, he's on the low level. I think this feels like a Jackson Smith Najigba game versus these Falcons, where there should be a lot of heavy attention towards DK and towards Lockett. But I mean, Lockett is one of these guys, it doesn't matter. He's aging and he still continues like a fine wine. He continues to keep making a lot of plays. But I like JSN this week once again on the low-level risk. Hopefully he finds his way into the end zone, makes those tallies that much better. Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on those Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. Baker Mayfield, the Bake Show. We'll see. This is a big test for Baker, and it is in prime time. Baker didn't look good starting out the gates versus the Saints and came back with a vengeance in that second half. We'll see how he does, man. He's played very well. 140 points for Baker. He's one of the leading quarterbacks in fantasy football right now. He's playing lights-out football, and it's hard not to say when you got guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But the biggest problem we got, you could play a Baker this week against Baltimore. I want to see what he's going to do. This should bring out the best in him. I'm okay with it. Just temper the top end, 28-plus points. It should be lesser than that. But Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker, what do we do now, man? It is a triple-headed monster. Everyone's like, how the hell do I even navigate this backfield at this point? So, I mean, you got to go with what the coach is saying at this point. You have to. They're going to ride the hot hand. They're going to ride who's running the best, and it's going to continue because it gives them the best opportunities to win football games. Coaches don't care about your fantasy teams. Now, we got to have the job of dissecting this all. So, Bucky Irving right now has given a lot of upside in the pass game, in the rushing upside. Sean Tucker is this dude. He had like 3,000 yards at Syracuse, and he showcased it last week. 35 points for Tucker. He's a big man. He's bully. He's fast. He's got hands. He's the full meal deal. Where Rachaad White would have been my complaints. If you guys have watched my shows, what has been the complaints for Rachaad White all season? It's a lack of burst behind the line of scrimmage. In the open field, he makes catches, and you see the explosive ability. It's mind-boggling. It's so confusing. But if it's me, I'm going Bucky, I'm going Rachaad White, and I'm going Sean Tucker this week. That's how I got to rank it until we see otherwise. It's Bucky, it's White, it's Tucker. That's how you got to do it, and then we'll see how the hot hand does continue to roll. Mike Evans, he's dealing with a ham. He did not practice on Friday. We'll see what he does on Saturday as the game is on Monday night. If he plays, you're obviously playing him. TD floor on the low-level risk, where Chris Godwin on the low risk. He's killing it. Wide receiver 202 points. Fire up Chris Godwin everywhere you got him. Jalen McMillan, he's back from his hamstring injury. Saw some snaps, but didn't see any targets. So, I mean, he right now, and along with a Cade Otton, I'm ranking as higher level risk. Not touching it this week. Tennessee Titans taking on those Buffalo Bills. Okay, Will Levis, we could see a lot more Mayo, the Mayo event of the day, poor plays from you. And that should be one of his things, man. The Mayo misplay of the day from Will Levis going against the Bills defense that looked so good last week. I mean, they were shooting those gaps. Bernard was killing it. They were doing so well. I really feel for this Titans team. If the Bills game is on point, and it is in Buffalo, so I do believe the Bills will be ready for this one, they're going to come after Will Levis a lot, create a lot of turnovers. The only thing saving them in this contest is got to be Tony Pollard. Run the football, give him screen passes, dump offs, give it to Tony Pollard and hope for the best. Will Levis is going to have a very tough day versus a Bills defense that looks to be rolling in the right direction. Julius Chestnut, high-level risk, taking over for Tajay Spears, not touching it. Where DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, one of these guys got to make some plays, right? Okay, everyone's cussing at Calvin Ridley on the 8 targets and 0 catches. If you go watch those 8 targets, almost none of them were very good passes and catchable balls. So give Calvin Ridley a break at this point. It sucks for us fantasy-wise. Will Levis, he's got to do much better. If I'm playing either one of them, I'm going to still side with a Calvin Ridley. Hope for the best, but you're benching both D-Hop and a Ridley at this point. Don't like it, man. Tyler Boyd, high-level risk, and a Chizo Okonkwo not touching it on the TD floor. High-level risk. Last one, the Washington Commanders, the Commies. Okay, taking on those Panthers, it's going to be very interesting how this goes. And I'm telling y'all, man, stud start of the week for a Jaden Daniels. I'm telling y'all, the way that this guy's been playing football, coming off the loss versus the Ravens, looked very sharp. Anyway, this is going to be a tune-up fest, man. Points are going to be flying. Stud start for a Jaden Daniels. Brian Thomas Jr., he's coming off the knee injury, off the injury report, so low-level risk. He plays, you fire him up. He's got 5 boom games, too. He's been absolutely killing it. Austin Eckler, likewise, if this game gets out of hand, he's definitely going to have his role. Mid-level risk, I'm definitely playing an Austin Eckler as well. Scary Terry McLaurin, fire him up on the low-level risk. But now who do we got here? Noah Brown, Diami Brown, the Brown brothers, and then Zach Ertz. I'm still leaning towards a Noah Brown. I think I called him wrong again. Noah Brown, PPR upside on the mid-level risk. Right now it's anywhere from 6 to 8 points. We want to see anywhere from 10 to 13. Then we can start playing him with confidence. Can't play Noah outside of 14 to 16 team leagues. Diami Brown likewise. Just not enough volume, but this should be an absolute tune-up for these commies. I absolutely like it. And Zach Ertz, he is a trusty, reliable source for us at this point. I do not dislike it. But there you have it. That is week number 7. Starts at lineup advice. We need those dubs. There are some good matchups that we can exploit. Obviously, get your questions in those comments. I will definitely get you back on everything that you put in there until kickoff, as many as I possibly can. But I got you covered. Let's get those wins. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. I am out.